Here's something nobody talks about. The smarter you are, the harder it is to speak English fluently. And today I'm going to prove exactly why and how to finally break free from it. Welcome back to Fluent Speak Lab, the channel that turns English learners into unstoppable English speakers. Every single video here is designed to solve the real problems that are keeping you silent. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now, because what I share on this channel could completely transform the way you speak English forever. Let me tell you about two different students. Student A's average grades, never top of the class, doesn't overthink anything, just jumps into conversations, makes mistakes constantly, laughs about it, and keeps going. Student B, straight A student, reads everything, studies harder than anyone in the room, knows every grammar rule by heart, understands English perfectly when reading or listening. Now, which student do you think speaks English more fluently? If you said student A, you are absolutely right. And if that surprises you, good. Because that surprise is exactly what this video is about. Here is a truth that the entire English learning industry refuses to talk about openly. The smarter you are, the harder it is to speak a second language fluently. The more you know about grammar, the more you freeze. The more you understand about correct English, the more terrified you become of saying something wrong. This is called the smart learner's paradox. And if you are an intelligent, hardworking, dedicated English learner who still cannot speak freely, this paradox is probably the exact reason why. Think about your own experience for a moment. You have studied hard. You have put in real effort. You know your grammar rules. You have a strong vocabulary. When someone else speaks English incorrectly, you can actually hear the mistake. You know it's wrong. You are, in many ways, more knowledgeable about English than people who speak it fluently every day. And yet, when you open your mouth, nothing comes out the way it should. The words get stuck. The sentences fall apart. The fluency that you see in others, that natural, effortless flow, feels completely out of reach for you. Why? Why does all that knowledge, all that study, and all that effort not translate into speaking ability? Because speaking a language is not about knowledge. It never was. Speaking a language is about automaticity, about muscle memory, about trained reflexes. And the cruel irony is this: the more knowledge you have, the more your brain tries to use that knowledge in real time while speaking. And that is precisely what slows everything down and eventually shuts everything down completely. Your intelligence, the very thing that helped you succeed in school, in life, in everything else, is actually working against you when it comes to speaking English. And today, I am going to show you exactly why, and more importantly, exactly how to turn that around. Let's talk about what actually happens inside the brain of a smart person the moment they try to speak English in a real situation. A regular learner hears a question in English and just responds imperfectly, messily. But immediately, their brain doesn't have enough knowledge to second-guess itself, so it just produces something, anything, and the conversation keeps moving. A smart learner hears the same question and immediately starts running a mental checklist. Is this present tense or past tense? Should I use which or that here? Is this phrase natural or does it sound strange? Am I pronouncing this correctly? Will they judge my accent? What if I use the wrong preposition? All of this in less than 2 seconds while the other person stands there waiting. This is called overthinking. And for smart people, overthinking is not just a habit, it is a deeply wired instinct. Because in school, in work, in life, thinking carefully before you act is rewarded. Taking your time to get things right is a sign of intelligence and responsibility. But in speaking, that instinct becomes a trap. Because language does not wait for you to finish thinking. Conversation moves in real time. And every millisecond you spend checking your grammar is a millisecond of silence that makes you feel more and more anxious, which makes you think even harder, which creates even more silence until the whole thing collapses and you give up entirely. Now let's talk about perfectionism, because this is where smart people get hit the hardest. Smart people are used to being good at things. They are used to performing at a high level. They are used to being the person in the room who gets things right. And when they open their mouth to speak English and it comes out broken and messy and wrong, it doesn't just feel frustrating, it feels deeply threatening to their identity. So what do? They avoid speaking, they stay quiet in conversations, they type instead of call, they prepare long scripts in their head before saying anything. They wait until they are absolutely sure, and since they are never absolutely sure, they never speak at all. Perfectionism in language learning is not a virtue. It is a prison, and smart people build that prison with their own hands, one grammar rule at a time. The painful truth is this: fluency is messy. Fluency is imperfect. Fluency is saying the wrong word sometimes and laughing about it and moving on. Every single native English speaker you admire makes grammatical errors every single day. They mispronounce words. They stumble on sentences. They use informal phrases that break every rule in the textbook, and nobody cares. Because communication, real human communication, has never been about perfection. It has always been about connection. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. So, what is the solution? How does a smart person, someone who is wired to think deeply, to analyze carefully, to pursue excellence, how does that person learn to speak a language freely and automatically? The answer is a complete mindset shift, and it starts with one decision. You have to decide, consciously and deliberately, to become a beginner again. I know that is hard to hear. You are not a beginner in terms of knowledge. You know more about English grammar than most people who speak English fluently. But in terms of speaking, in terms of producing language, automatically under pressure, you are starting from zero. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can actually start making real progress. Here is your new approach. Starting today. First, set a new goal for every conversation. Your new goal is not to speak correctly. Your new goal is simply to keep talking. No matter how broken it sounds, no matter how many mistakes you make, the only rule is do not stop. Do not go silent. Do not retreat into your head. Keep the words coming, even if they are wrong, even if they are simple, even if you repeat yourself. Keep talking. Second, give yourself a thinking time limit. When someone asks you a question in English, you have 3 seconds maximum to start responding. Not to finish, just to start. Say something. Anything. By yourself, time with phrases like, "That's a great question," or, "Let me think about that for a second," or, "Honestly, I believe that." These phrases keep the conversation alive while your brain catches up. Third, make friends with mistakes. Every time you make an English mistake today, write it down. Not to feel bad about it, but to celebrate it. That mistake is evidence that you tried. That mistake is your brain reaching beyond its comfort zone. That mistake is growth happening in real time. Fourth, practice speaking without thinking. Set a timer for 2 minutes. Talk about absolutely anything in English. Your morning, your lunch, your feelings, a random thought, without stopping. Without editing, without correcting yourself. Pure output. Pure flow. Do this every single day and watch what happens to your brain over the next 30 days. Fifth, separate your identity from your English. You are not your grammar mistakes. Your intelligence is not measured by your accent. Your worth as a person has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with whether you said, "I have been," or "I had been." In a casual conversation, you are smart. That is real. That is permanent. And that intelligence, when you finally stop letting it get in your way, is going to make you an extraordinary English speaker. The paradox ends today. Speak first. Think later. Grow always. You are not struggling because you are not smart enough. You are struggling because you are too smart. And today, that changes. Right now in the comments, write 1 sentence in English. Don't think about it. Don't edit it. Just write it raw and real, because that one imperfect sentence is worth more than 1,000 perfect ones you kept inside your head. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this today. Hit like, subscribe to Fluent Speak Lab. And remember, the most fluent version of you is not waiting for perfection. It's waiting for courage. See you in the next video. Let's go.